Welcome to Mr. Hutchings History, where the past comes alive. Let's dive into today's story.
All right, let's dive into some history today.
Sounds good to me.
We're going to be looking at the heart of the civil rights movement,
Okay.
specifically 1966 and something called the Meredith March.
Yes.
Now, I know you love these kind of turning points in history.
I do.
This one is really interesting.
Why is that?
Well, we see the movement for equality kind of start to fracture a bit.
Yeah, the Meredith March, it was more than just a march.
Really?
Yeah, it was like a snapshot of everything happening in the entire civil rights movement.
Interesting.
All the different beliefs, all the frustrations, all the hopes,
Wow.
all converged on this one event.
So what are we going to try to figure out today?
Well, we need to try to understand why this march in particular became such a flashpoint.
I'm in.
Okay,
So this all starts with
Yeah.
James Meredith, the guy who integrated Ole Miss.
back in 62.
Yeah, 4 years later, he decides he's going to walk
Oh, wow.
from Memphis to Jackson, Mississippi. It was a really powerful symbol for encouraging Black voter registration.
Right.
But then just 2 days in,
Yeah.
he gets shot
Oh, no.
or wounded.
You would think that would stop the movement right there.
Right.
But it didn't.
What happened?
Well, other leaders stepped forward,
Oh, wow.
and they continued the march for him. Oh, some big names. Actually, Martin Luther King Jr. was one.
Sure.
The champion of nonviolence and integration.
Yeah.
But then you also had Stokely Carmichael.
I don't know that name.
He was a rising voice for SNCC.
SNCC?
Yeah, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee.
Okay.
And he really injects a different energy into the march.
How so?
Well, he starts chanting Black Power.
Whoa.
That phrase will echo for decades.
Black power. So it wasn't just a slogan then?
No, not at all.
What did it represent?
For Carmichael and many others, it meant that Black communities,
Yeah.
they would take control of their own destinies, their own institutions, even their own self-defense.
So it went beyond integration.
Oh, yeah, this is about empowerment.
You can really see that shift, can't you?
Oh, absolutely.
When you compare Carmichael's chants to what King was saying,
Total.
King actually said during the march, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Wow, powerful stuff.
Yeah, it reveals this inner struggle he was having,
Yeah.
seeing the movement changing around him.
Definitely.
So you have these two powerful figures,
Yeah.
King and Carmichael.
Each with their own way forward.
But this wasn't just, a clash of personalities or anything.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
came from years and years of growing frustration
For sure.
in the Black community.
By 1966, a lot of people were disillusioned.
I can see why.
They had those legal victories.
The Civil Rights Act.
Yes. And the Voting Rights Act, too.
Okay.
All these great laws were on the books. Real change was really slow.
I see.
And the violence continued down south.
Oh.
And poverty was a huge issue.
So the mood was changing.
Big time.
And the Meredith March.
It became this stage.
Where all that frustration came out.
Exactly.
So how do historians even begin to look at all of this?
Well, they approach it in many different ways.
Okay.
With many different lenses.
Give me an example.
Okay, so revisionist historians like Claiborne Carson,
Okay.
they argue that Black power,
Yeah.
while divisive,
Uh-huh.
it was a necessary change.
Really?
Yeah, because it wasn't just rhetoric.
It was more than that.
Yeah, it was a crucial shift in focus from just pursuing integration
Okay.
to demanding more control over their communities and institutions.
Interesting.
But then you have other historians like Charles Payne,
Okay.
who look at it from more of a social conflict perspective.
Okay.
They see the Meredith March as exposing
Yeah.
the cracks that were always there.
In the movement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those tensions between groups like SNCC,
Right. Yeah.
who wanted those radical changes.
Yeah.
And then King's SCLC,
Which was?
the Southern Christian Leadership Conference,
Okay.
that advocated for nonviolence integration.
And so these tensions were all out in the open.
Exactly.
So we've got revisionist historians
Yes.
and social conflict historians.
Uh-huh. And then it gets even more interesting when you bring in political pragmatism.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
Historians like Adam Fairclough, they argue that King's commitment to nonviolence
Right.
wasn't just a moral thing.
Oh, what else was
It was also a very calculated strategy.
Interesting.
He knew that if he alienated white support, it would be much harder to get legislation passed.
So where does that leave him during the Meredith March?
In a really tough spot.
Yeah, I bet.
Because how do you keep those white allies
Right.
while also responding to the demands of Black power?
It's like he's stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, and then you also have to remember the Black Power scholars themselves.
Oh, right. Of course.
People like Peniel Joseph, who view the Meredith March as a real victory.
How so?
Well, they say that Carmichael's Black Power,
Yeah,
it wasn't just about anger.
it was.
It was about reclaiming Black identity
Oh,
and agency.
okay.
It was about rejecting what they saw as white paternalism.
And demanding self-determination.
Exactly.
So we've got all these different interpretations.
And they all offer us something important,
Right.
a more complete understanding of what happened.
So the Meredith March wasn't just about this one event.
No, it was about a fundamental shift. The civil rights movement.
It's almost like watching a river
So-
change course, you know?
Yeah, I like that.
There's a buildup of pressure,
Right.
and then suddenly everything is flowing in a new direction.
And that's what makes this period so fascinating.
It was messy and unpredictable,
Definitely.
but it's also where we see the seeds of change
Exactly.
being planted.
And those seeds, as we'll see,
Yeah.
well, they grow into something much bigger than anyone could have imagined.
So we talked about all those clashing ideas, you know, all that tension during the Meredith March.
Yeah.
But, like, what actually happened as a result of it?
Like, what were the consequences?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think one of the biggest things was it created this loss of unity.
You mean, like, in the movement's leadership?
Exactly. Think about it.
Okay.
Even groups like the NAACP,
Wow, really?
they felt like they couldn't support either side.
You mean King or Carmichael?
Yet it shows just how deep that divide was.
So everyone had to kind of step back.
In a way, yeah.
Wow, so it wasn't just about different philosophies or whatever?
No, it really affected things.
So we're seeing the impact, like, ripple outward.
Exactly. And as all this is happening,
Mm-hmm.
you have the media right there, front and center,
Oh, yeah, of course.
capturing those images, those sound bites.
Against the Black Power chants.
Yes, and King's calls for nonviolence.
It creates this really stark contrast.
For sure. People started seeing the movement as unpredictable.
Maybe even dangerous.
Possibly, yeah.
And that probably didn't sit well with a
Right.
lot of white Americans, you know?
No, definitely. A lot of white Americans who had supported the movement.
They started to back away.
Yeah, public opinion definitely started to shift.
They probably saw it as too radical.
Right, too demanding.
So did the Meredith March actually hurt the civil rights movement?
Not directly.
Right.
It did change the conversation.
In what way?
Well, all those Black Power slogans,
Yeah.
they forced America to look beyond just legal equality
To
to those systemic problems,
like what?
economic disparities in Black communities.
The ones that laws couldn't fix.
Exactly.
So the Meredith March kind of became a wake-up call.
You could say that.
So it wasn't just about voting rights anymore.
Right. It became much broader.
So what happened next?
Well, activists started focusing more on things like self-reliance
Okay.
and empowerment within Black communities.
Like what kinds of things?
Well, think about groups like the Black Panther Party.
They came a bit later, right?
Yeah, just a few years later.
What did they do?
They took that idea of Black power
Uh-huh.
and turned it into action.
Like,
Community programs, economic initiatives,
okay.
and even, armed self-defense.
So the Meredith March was this turning point.
It really was,
Yeah.
even if it wasn't intentional.
It's like, it's about more than just sitting at a lunch counter
Right.
or being able to vote.
It's about controlling your own future.
Your own schools, your own businesses.
Exactly.
I wonder how Martin Luther King Jr. felt about all of this.
Oh, he was deeply troubled by it all.
How do we know that?
Well, he wrote about it, talked about it.
What did he say?
He was really worried about the potential for violence,
And
losing those white allies,
yeah.
and undermining all the progress they had made.
But he also understood the other side, right?
Oh, yeah. He definitely understood the frustration.
The anger from all those broken promises.
Absolutely. It must have been so difficult for him.
Yeah, like, what do you do?
It really puts all that weight of leadership into perspective.
It wasn't just about the movement.
No, it was personal for King, too.
So the Meredith March, it changed everything.
It forced everyone to face a hard truth.
Which was...
Legal equality, while important, was just the beginning.
The real fight was just getting started.
For sure.
Okay, so we've really dug into this Meredith March.
Yeah.
Seen how it shook things up,
Yeah.
Even made someone like MLK rethink things.
For sure.
But why should we care about this today?
That's the question, isn't it?
What's the lasting legacy?
I think the Meredith March, it changed how we view social change.
How so?
Well, before the march, we kind of saw the civil rights movement as this,
Yeah.
this unified force.
Right, everyone working together.
Exactly. But then The Meredith March comes along.
With all those clashing views.
Right, and it complicates things.
Makes us realize that even within a movement,
Yeah.
there's going to be disagreements,
Oh, absolutely.
different ideas about how to move forward.
And that's actually a good thing.
Really?
Yeah, it shows that people are thinking for themselves.
Challenging assumptions.
Right, pushing for more, maybe even more radical solutions.
So disagreement can be productive.
It can be. It makes us face those hard truths
And rethink things.
to ultimately become better at creating change.
So the Meredith March, it wasn't a setback then.
I would say it was more like a catalyst.
Like, it pushed the movement forward.
Right, exactly.
It's like that saying,
Yeah.
no struggle, no progress.
Oh, that's a good one.
I think it was Frederick Douglass who said that.
Right, in the Meredith March, it was definitely a struggle.
Messy, but it moved things along.
And that's a lesson that applies to more than just the civil rights movement.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Any social movement, really.
Right.
Climate change, economic justice, LGBTQ plus rights.
All of them.
Yeah, we have to be able to have those tough conversations.
You know, challenge each other, acknowledge the complexity.
Exactly. There's never just one answer.
So the Meredith March is like a roadmap,
In a way, yes.
but not one with a single destination,
It's more like a compass, I think.
guiding us through uncharted territory.
I like that, yeah, there's no easy fix for these things.
It's a process,
It is, and it's ongoing.
and it demands, like, constant dialogue, right?
And a willingness to keep pushing, even when things are uncertain.
This has been, wow, really eye-opening.
Glad to hear it.
So what's the one thing you want our listener to take away from all of this?
I think the Meredith March shows us
Yeah.
that fighting for social justice, it's a journey.
Not a destination.
Exactly. It takes courage and resilience,
And never giving up.
even when you don't know what's coming next.
So it's not about having all the answers.
No, it's about being a part of something bigger.
That's powerful stuff.
And it's a journey we all have to take together.
Yeah, listening to each other, supporting each other.
Challenging each other, too.
And never stop fighting for a better world, even when it's hard.
I think that's a good place to leave it.
Okay, so one last thought for our listener. Imagine you're back in 1966.
Okay?
You see Black power rising up.
Yeah.
You feel that frustration, that need for change.
It's a powerful moment.
So knowing what you know now,
Mm-hmm.
what path would you choose?
Would you march with King?
With Carmichael?
Or maybe forge your own way?
No easy answers, but it's worth thinking about
It is.
as we try to make our own world a better place.
Thanks for joining us.
Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep pushing for change.
Thanks for listening to Mr. Hutchings History. Keep exploring, and we'll see you next time.